Buenos dias, all RGT85 here. We have quite a bit of video game news to talk about today, so we're just going to jump straight into it. If you enjoy video game related content, hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share, hit the bell notification as well. But without any further ado, let's jump into what's happening in the world of video games, and we're starting things off with the new RoboCop game. Now, if you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you are very familiar with RoboCop. Like, it was kind of like a pseudo superhero thing, half man, half machine. Of course, they did a reboot of the movie, which wasn't really that bad. I thought the reboot was okay. So if you're a younger kid who was born in like the 2000s or something, you might know RoboCop. Regardless, get off my lawn, get a haircut, and turn down your damn music. I'm not playing with you kids, bruh. But anyways, RoboCop has never really had great video games. The arcade games are pretty fun. RoboCop versus Terminator on the Sega Genesis was really awesome, but it wasn't really based on the RoboCop movies. It was more of just based on the comic book stuff. RoboCop came out on the Xbox with a game from Titus that was horrible. It's literally one of the worst video games I've ever played. It's just so bad, but now RoboCop is back, boys and girls. RoboCop is back. The original actor from the RoboCop movies is reprising his role, which is awesome because that's what a lot of us, 80s and 90s kids think of when we think of RoboCop. And the game looks pretty good, honestly. It's supposed to come out next summer. It's coming out on all platforms, and I think they really nailed sort of the aesthetic that RoboCop is trying to convey. This dystopian future, a rundown city that's being taken over by rich people who are essentially controlling the city instead of letting the city, live on its own. And, there's arguments happening and stuff. And obviously there's a lot of turmoil, a lot of crime, and RoboCop is coming in there to clean up that crime. I am interested in seeing just how like RoboCop-ish RoboCop gets in this game because of just how like the world is nowadays and stuff like that. Don't want to offend anyone, even though it's a piece of fiction. Like, get over yourself. Not everything is detailed and directed at you. If you feel guilty about it, maybe you're just a guilty person. And, it's weird for me because I had so many negative interactions growing up with police officers and, up until, basically my early 30s, I guess I would say. So it's something that you wouldn't think would resonate with me, but like RoboCop was just badass and a really cool character. So I'm super interested in checking out this game. I do hope that the game ends up being good, at least better. You can't really be worse than the RoboCop game on the Xbox. Like, that thing sucked. Maybe I'll make a video on that one day. Like, not enough people talk about just how damn bad that game is. It is terrible. It is a disgrace to the RoboCop name, but maybe this game can help revive the franchise that only old people like me give a shit about. Are you interested in playing the new RoboCop game? Because you should be. Let me know what you think of it in the comments section down below. Next up, the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack was at an interesting crossroads because after Pokemon Snap released for it on the N64 side of things, we didn't know about any other games. We all kind of assumed that, oh, well, when Nintendo does their June Direct, we'll probably learn about stuff. And I mean, they kind of did a June Direct. It just didn't have anything to do with them. You got third-party games. You got Xenoblade, that's sort of involving them. But yeah, beyond that, like, you didn't really learn about anything that Nintendo was actually doing. So many people were wondering, well, when the hell are we going to get an update for the N64 side of things? What other games are going to be coming? Well, we got our first game that's coming out. It's coming out next week in this new batch of N64 games. It comes out on July 15th, and it's Pokemon Puzzle League. Okay. I'm going to be real. I don't know anything about this game. I see that it's a match style puzzle game based on the trailer. It looks kind of cool, I guess, but I don't know. This game to me just kind of falls flat because I feel like this is a game that relies heavily on nostalgia, kind of like RoboCop. But at least with the RoboCop stuff, like, you can look at that game and be like, oh, okay, that looks cool. If you don't really have nostalgia for this game, it doesn't really hit home. And the fact that this is the only N64 game that we're getting for the month, it's kind of like, well, that's kind of a bit of a disappointment. Like, I would have liked to have seen Wave Race or something like that. A game that has some online multiplayer. Obviously, there will be some online multiplayer with the matching, but it's like, we got Dr. Mario. Do we really need this game? And really, some of the questions that arise from this are the fact that Japan is getting custom Robo games. Now, these games were never translated and brought over stateside. I don't think they were. I'm 99% sure that they weren't. I'm pretty sure that custom Robo finally hit Nintendo consoles with the GameCube as far as stateside is concerned. I could be wrong on that, but they're getting custom Robo games. That's kind of like, well, that seems a hell of a lot cooler than another match puzzle game that, yeah, you sprinkled Pokemon on it. Like, I guess you're trying to trying to make that dish a little bit spicier with the Pokemans. But hey, you know, people would have liked to have checked this out. Now, like I said, those games were never officially translated, to my knowledge. I just don't think there was a custom Robo stateside on the N64. I could be wrong with that. But yeah, so I don't know. To me, it's kind of a disappointment. I understand that not everything is catered directly to me, like we just talked about a second ago, but I do feel like they should have had a bigger splash. And you know, like a game like Wave Race, it's the summertime. People are out there on jet skis and stuff like that. People are out there, you know, enjoying the beach, enjoying the sun. At least that's what I hear. I don't know, the sun, my fair skin, I ain't getting burned. Turn into a freaking lobster. I'm like a lobster man. You want to fuck around with a lobster man? I don't think so, buddy. I don't think so. So yeah, Pokemon Puzzle League. Excited for this game? Should I be excited for this game? Because like I said, I don't know anything about it. This could be like the Sonic Spinball of you know, games for Sonic the Hedgehog. This could be like a cult classic with Pokemon fans. Let me know what you think of it in the comments section down below. I mean, I might end up checking it out anyways, because hey, it's there to play, it's there to see, but personally, I'm a little disappointed. You do better, Nintendo. You know, if you're gonna do a freaking puzzle game, at least have something to complement it. Okay, have another game. You could do more than one game at a time on your service. I swear, you could release more than one game at a time. Look at the Sega Genesis stuff. It's running a little bit smoother. It's running a little bit better. And finally, the rumor mill is heating up about Nintendo doing new hardware, and then they just jizzed on a Nintendo Switch and made it a Splatoon 3 system. A little jizz patch on the dock of the system. But hey, you know what? I do like variants of systems. I do think that they're cool. So it's a good thing, but at the same time, it's kind of like, oh, I was hoping for something that was actually, you know, a little bit different. You know, something that was a little bit more powerful. It's something that's been heavily rumored, and there's been lots of traces of information that have come along that show Nintendo is indeed doing something. We've covered pretty much all of those traces of information, but now we have yet more information. It's kind of based on a recent patent that we've talked about a couple months ago on the channel, but now it's been revised. It's been going through the legal channels in order to get to where it needs to get to so that Nintendo can actually have this patent fully and then utilize it potentially with something. And this does indeed involve the Nintendo Switch and upscaling, which is something that a lot of us want. I mean, you know, you played Xenoblade Chronicles 2 at like sub 360 images in handheld mode. Hopefully Xenoblade Chronicles 3 isn't like that, because that would kind of suck. We need something to actually upscale these images to make them look better, to make them look crisper, to make it look, you know, just like a better, proper game. So here's the information, because we're looking at a patent now. All right, so as you can see here, we have a very, very long patent. We will be reading every piece of information on this because watch time is very important. We need watch time on the channel. YouTube likes when people watch a video for a long time. So we're going over every bit of this information. The block diagram that includes an example computer system according to certain example embodies. Okay, we're not reading this whole thing. But basically, long story short, this is the same patent that we've been talking about with Nintendo as far as some upscaling technology, systems and method for machine learning image conversion. A computer system is provided for converting images through use of a trained neural network. A source image is divided into blocks, and context data is added to each pixel block. The context blocks are split into channels, and each channel from the same context block is added to the same activation matrix. Neo. The action matrix is then executed against a trained neural network to produce a changed activation matrix. The changed activation matrix is then used to generate a converted image. So what the hell does this all mean? It's basically upscaling. You could see the timeline of how long they've been working on this, and you know, when it was initially published, which I believe is when we talked about it back in the day. But there's been new stuff added to it as far as the update is concerned. As you can see, this is for the United States patent, and it was done on July 5th of 2022. So what, 2-3 days ago is when this was put into action as far as trying to advance it. You could read all this. I'll have a link to it in the description box down below if you want to get into like the nitty gritty of it all, because you're weird and you like technology. Because you can see here, image up conversion is a technique that allows for conversion of images produced in a first resolution, or for example, a 540p resolution to a higher resolution to 1080p. So evidently, you know, what this is image upscaling, and that's something that we've wanted for so long. You know, we've talked about it with NVIDIA and the DLSS technology. The proof is in the pudding with this. Like, you could look at a DLSS artificially upscaled image and be like, wow, this looks a lot better. And it doesn't require, like, you know, better hardware or anything like that. You're using the same stuff. It's all done by computers. I really feel, and I've said this every time we've talked about, you know, artificial upscaling, I really feel like that's the future of video games. Not these necessarily more powerful systems, but more powerful technology to get more out of these systems, because we're starting to get to a point where it's like, well, what more can you really do as far as making these games natively look? It's like, you know, you're kind of reaching, you know, a law of diminishing returns with this. But with something with like artificial upscaling, you could focus on other things instead of trying to make, you know, the best looking realistic graphics or something like that, because your computer technology can then upscale this image. And I mean, once again, the proof is in the pudding. We've seen it with AMD Fidelity FX stuff. We've seen it with NVIDIA DLSS stuff. It's definitely the wave. It's definitely the future. And Nintendo would be smart to get on this, because they don't do strong hardware anymore. You know, this isn't the N64. This isn't the GameCube era anymore. Nintendo has gone in a different direction. But if you could supplement that, if you can sort of, you know, counteract that lack of power with artificial upscaling, I don't think anyone would care. Like, as long as you don't care how the game looks good. You just want the game to look good. You want the game to run good. You want the game to look like a proper, you know, new entry in a video game franchise for the modern era. And as long as you get to that required destination, it doesn't matter how you get there. It doesn't matter what tricks you use to get there. So what does all this mean? Could mean something, it could mean nothing. Patents are always, you know, being worked on. Sometimes there's patents that come and go, like the Wii Vitality sensor. They even showed that thing off, and then they never did anything with it. So this doesn't necessarily mean that it's a concrete foregone conclusion that Nintendo is going to add this into their system, but I think it's likely. I think it makes sense. Now, will this require a whole brand new system? Could you do this via a system update? Could you do it with the new Nintendo Switch dock for the OLED model? Because, you know, there was some interesting stuff in there that allowed for updates on the Switch dock, which the previous docks did not allow. Could you update this dock to include that? Like, that's something to think about, especially if you're pushing this Splatoon 3 Switch OLED model. Like, maybe there's some rhyme to the reason with this, you know. Obviously very tinfoil hat stuff, you know, just, you kind of got to expand your mind a little bit. You kind of got to think outside the box, but I think it's realistic. I think it's a realistic thing, and, you know, maybe we'll see the fruits of its labor, or hey, maybe we'll just be playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3 in, you know, 300p on the handheld mode. Who knows? Who knows? Alrighty, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to give me your feedback in the comment section down below. You excited for RoboCop? Because you should be. You should be. What do you think about Pokemon Puzzle League? I'm missing out on this game. Should have been Wave Race instead. Summertime. Jet skis. Kind of makes sense. And this Nintendo Switch patent. What? The upscale, downscale, left scale, right scale, broken scale because you're too fat. What's going on with it, man? And as always, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Hit the bell notification as well. And as always, I love you guys. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.